Welcome to Let's Go Live. I have with me YA all the way to fiery, hot, spicy romance author Ruan Willow. Welcome back.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, I thought I was going to be in the dark room with you, your studio. So are you there?
Yes, you can't see me?
I see you. I see your lights in the background.
Okay. You do see
I
me?
do see you.
Okay. Is it too dark?
Is it the mood? Are we going to the dark side this time?
I do like the mood, right? Who doesn't?
I know. I was listening to your podcast episode that we had done on my channel,
Oh,
and
yes.
I don't know how we're going to top it because it was spectacular. And I'm a huge fan of your work. But
Well,
before
you
we
fan of your
start,
work too.
thank you, my dear. Before we start, I gotta get my glasses on because I can't see nothing. Let me tell everybody that's dialed in and listening some stats
Okay.
because your numbers are impressive. And last interview, you said, I'm not really into numbers, but I am. And so we're going to pause right here. This was in December, just 4 little months ago. 1.2 million downloads on her podcast. Oh, F yeah, like, the F word. Ranges in 50 to 60 countries worldwide in the top rank.
Yep.
Over five.
And I'm so not into numbers. I actually haven't re-added it up, but I do get emailed daily how many countries I'm hitting, and that has gone up. So that's been anywhere from 60 to 68 countries daily. So I need to go back and add everything up. But yeah, I'm so not a numbers person that it's very rare when I decide to go add all that up. So, but I do need to do it again because it's good to do just to know because I have my podcast in so many different places that I have to check it so many spots. It's not just a simple report, from my platform because I have it in so many places. So I have to check them all and then add it all up. And I don't like math.
You're like, that's why I write with the words.
What's that?
That's right. Why you write the words.
Exactly. I like words. I don't like numbers. I don't remember numbers. Numbers don't stay in my head well.
Well, these numbers will stay in a lot of our listeners' heads. So let me continue. So as of December, you heard, 1.2 million downloads. It's up from that. She's now in 60 to 68 countries, ranking in the top of those countries. Over 500 episodes on her podcast. Over 70 audiobooks. Narrates for 6 or 7 other authors, and you can also hire her if you're interested in narration. Over 58 titles, which has now jumped, I think, to 64 when I looked a couple days ago.
See, I
Under
don't even look at that. I'm so bad. I don't look at my numbers. I'm terrible.
So up to 64 under the Ruan Willow pen name, but girl has 5 pen names.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
impressive numbers. I wanted to open the show with those numbers because my gosh. I've even grown more impressed with you because you just keep chugging along. Your output is incredible. Your energy is vivacious and infectious. I'm a fan.
I love to hear all those words. Those are wonderful words. Thank you for that intro. That was totally amazing. I'm really excited. I mean, I'm not done. I want to keep going. There's just so much to do, so much to write that I'm nowhere near done.
Well, we're going to get into it because you're an inspiration to a lot of us writers, podcasters. You're also on Substack, you're on Patreon, and then I want to flip the script this time and start with that new app you've co-founded because we didn't dive into that last time. And I
Sorry,
think it was really, really new.
which one? Say that again.
Your new application or platform that you had co-founded,
Um,
where you're putting your stories,
are you
themes.
talking about Theo Reads, perhaps? Maybe?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes, they are really close to launching. They're getting their financials already so that they can take payment. But they have a lot of free stories. I have a bunch of free stories on there. And the next thing I'm going to start working on for that site is I have a erotic suspense story that I'm going to start putting there chapter by chapter. I already have it written, but it needs to be edited. So instead of editing it and putting it out as a book, I'm going to put it there exclusive. And then because you have to have it there exclusive for a while, and then I will turn it into a book. But it's a really long book, so it'll probably take a while.
And you said
Although
the
I did
name
not
of it.
co-found it. That's not. I actually did not co-found it. I'm just a founding author is the way they call it. So people that came on board really early are called founding authors, and so she's a co-founder, and then she has someone else that is the founder, but they're not really as involved. They're kind of more like in the background. So we really interact with her, which her name is Parneet.
Okay, my apologies. Founding author, and that is called Theo Reads.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be like the O, like the orgasm reads, Theo. So that's where she got. At first, I was like, "What is Theo?" Right? Like, what does that mean? And I'm
Like Theo
oh.
James? Okay, we can get behind Theo James Reads.
So yeah, that is coming along, and people can read free stories on there. There's tons of free stories. I have free stories. There's a lot of free stories. So if you want to get a flavor for what's going to be, the thing that's going to be really great about that site is that you can search by these words that other platforms are restricting or won't allow. Like if you want to find very specific what you want, there aren't any taboo words. You can put them in there and see if there's a story that you want. So that's going to be something very different than a lot of these other platforms that are so restrictive. I can't even believe how restrictive some of them are. I just found this word that I didn't think would be restrictive that is now restrictive. And they're always adding words too.
Oh, I can believe that. I posted a reel on 2 platforms, and then the third one that's, always about to be banned, put it under instant review. And I even had the asterisks over some of the ones I thought might be suspected, but it automatically reviews. So I know what you're talking about.
It's ridiculous.
Well, that raises the question. It's nice for you as a spicy, very, very spicy, taboo, erotic, that you do have a place to land, because those stories want to be written, they want to be told, they want to be read. Right. And so censorship drives me crazy in general. Where's the line? I mean, there are some, not illegal or immoral, right? That we don't want to do those things. But yeah, the over censorship is just nuts nowadays, especially when it gets into the covers as well.
Right. Yeah, the covers. Yeah, exactly. That's just so hard. And it's, I just feel like they're just trying to tell everybody what's okay and what's not. And I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with you telling me what's okay. I mean, obviously, like you said, I'm not going to go to those, really bad areas that are taboo and illegal. But, just it's extreme. They're extreme. And, I actually was putting in from under my real name. I just released a book, and I put the word, and it's a total innocent thing, and I put the word sexy. They block that word too. And I've heard they're starting to block spicy.
Yep, I've moved from spicy to steamy.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. But what's hard is that then you have to think, okay, where did I put that word? I have to go back and edit all this stuff. And it's really, it's just again, what bugs me is that these platforms will publish them and then they try to hide them.
Yeah.
It's like, this is gaslighting all of us, right?
Mm-hmm. We'll take your money if it sells, but if it doesn't, we're going to bury it way deep down in the abyss.
Yeah.
So, but that raises a good point. You do write from light pink, in my opinion, to jet black. So do you have your library, your entire inventory on one platform, or no, you have to find other alternatives because you just can't get your books loaded, or they don't have the visibility, or they're banned altogether?
Well, I have them across all different areas. And yeah, Smashwords is one that's a little bit more tolerant with extra spicy stuff. So if I have something really extra spicy, I might only put it on Smashwords and Theo Reads. But most of them, from what I write, I can put them across the board. But what gets to be a challenge is keeping my world separate. Like, for instance, I just started a pay app, and I'm like, I wish that they would allow me to have two different storefronts for each one. So I'm trying to work that out. Or do I just go to a different platform, do one on pay app and one on another? If I want to like sell some of my own, I had to figure out how to keep them separate. But the thing is, I'm also starting to do a lot of book fairs and book conferences, especially this year. And I will have both books there. So, or both, all pen names there. So people that actually are coming to see me in person will know the full gamut of who I am.
Yeah, we talked about that, having like this spice meter somehow arranged on at your booths.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we did talk about that, right?
so Theo Reads is available today for people to go on for free, and then they're working on the paid side. Is that correct?
Exactly. Exactly. But they have a ton of free stuff on there. And it's just every, any kind of subgenre you want to find within romance. And they even have very sweet romance. So it's the full gamut of romance. That's how you can think of it.
And then you had mentioned Eden books, I think.
Yeah, they're okay with spicier content too. So that's another place to definitely check if you like spicier stuff. But they also have, regular romance that's not spicy. I like to call it open door versus closed door versus some of the other terms that people use that are more negative. Like I'm all about positivity. So,
So your books, obviously, you're a white author, but you can't be exclusive to Amazon because you would not necessarily get seen. So it forces your hand to all these platforms. So I'd imagine you're on almost every platform there is available to sell a book.
Yeah, I really am in a lot of places. And some of them are, I'm just kind of there, and some of them I do sell books, but it's nice to have that wide range, so you can have that potential, and it's hard to, because some of these platforms, if you use any certain word, they'll automatically, exclude you. But I do have some that are not excluded, so that helps too. But yeah, it's a game to figure out where to publish and have your content be there and not be, dampened and try to erased. Yet I feel like it's just this big gaslighting thing where they're like, okay, yes, you can publish with us, but no, nobody can find you. It's like this big giant gaslight. It's terrible.
Well, I know if you don't pay for ads, or if you're not in the exclusivity programs, you don't get the same visibility.
No, and you
And that's
can't even
challenging.
pay for ads. Like Amazon will not even let you pay for ads if it's too spicy in their opinion. You can't even buy ads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's challenging because we know traditional authors, they get their ad spend budget is incredibly high. And then the indies are behind that. And then even in the indies, it's subdivided into, KU exclusivity. Like you said, those that are eligible to buy can. And then sometimes you just can't get the rank because, romance is very competitive.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many places that, and then I've been getting into some independent bookstores, which is really fun. But again, you have to apply to all these places. But so, but that's really fun too, to be there. I got one under my real name. I got a bookstore that's going to create merchandise too, based on my book. So I'm really excited about that, to see where that's going to go. And then I can buy some of that and sell it at book fairs. Some of the merchandise they make, I can buy some at wholesale, and then I can turn around and sell it. So I'm excited about that too. That's a new thing I'm gonna try.
Okay, that is super fun. So how did that come about? Because I feel like you are constantly testing, pivoting, trying. I mean, you, like I called you before, a Renaissance woman. Like, you leave no stone unturned. So how did the indie book come about? Bookstore.
So basically, I find the majority of them on Threads, and you can find people are posting applications to apply to have your book be carried with them. So you fill out the application, and they decide, yes, I'm going to carry your book, or no, I'm not. And there's so many things you can find there. Book boxes, blind date book boxes. This one that I'm just mentioned, I found them on Threads too. So people that are kind of doing their own bookish businesses are advertising it a lot on Threads, and then you can apply. They put their applications up. Hey, there's a Google form. You want to apply to be in my bookstore? Fill out this form, and either you hear from them or you don't. You know, like they get a lot of people applying. But yeah, that's how I found most of them is actually through threads.
Okay, that is so surprising because I think the view of threads is like it's a replacement to Twitter for those that went off Twitter.
Mhm.
So I did not know it's actually like a networking opportunity where people are advertising. I mean, we know that on Instagram, but that is fascinating.
Yes, there's a big bookish community. And, you know, and the really nice thing that I do like about threads is it's very responsive. Like say you get off your logarithm and say you responded to some post that isn't really related to books or something, and you start getting all these feeds related to that, all these posts, and you're like, oh no, I'm getting away from the bookish community.
Mhm.
You can post your own thing saying, oh, I'm trying to find people who like books, independent books. You can put the words in there and it will redirect your feed. Is very
Oh,
responsive in that way. So, you know, that I have to say that is where I have found the majority of the bookstores putting their forms for indies to apply to be in their bookstores. And some of them are on consignment, some will buy from Ingram. So then you'd have to have your book on Ingram Spark, which, you know, that's a whole nother realm that I got into this fall. So I've learned that one too.
well, I was going to add that was going to be my next question because I know that if you want to go into the big ones, you have to be on, well, your book has to be wholesale on Ingram in order for them to buy it, and then they can return it if it doesn't sell, yada, yada, right? And I know that a lot of indie bookstores do that. So the consignment is interesting. Do you then drop off the books for them to sell?
Well, here's a really interesting thing. You can buy author copies from Amazon and have it shipped to the bookstore, or you can have it shipped to you, and then you can sign the books and mail them out yourself. And then I've learned it's better to buy a bigger chunk of books and just have a stockpile so that when you are going to send them out, it's cheaper. Otherwise, you're paying more for shipping. So it's cheaper for you to buy a bigger load of books through Amazon, the author copies, and then you can slowly send them out. So that's cheaper than sending a bookstore one or two copies because the shipping is so
Mm-hmm.
much higher. So that's a great way to, I think, to do it. The only downfall is then those sales of those books are not getting recorded anywhere because they don't record
Oh,
them. So you're getting sales, you're making money, but it's not counting towards your book sold total. So it's not going to affect your logarithm on Amazon.
right, where Ingram would.
Ingram would, yes. But then you also have to decide, yes, do you want to have them come back to you and you have to pay a fee? Or they can destroy your book. And that makes me want to cry. I will not ever
I
choose.
know.
I will take them all back, my book babies, and I will pay, crazy amounts of money. There's no way I am letting them burn my books. Get rid
I
of them.
know that one makes me shudder because
Oh,
I can't think about that happening. But I think, what is it? After some of the bigger bookstores, after 90 days, if they don't sell, they automatically do that. They call it and destroy it. And you're like,
but the thing is, especially in romance, there are so many independently owned, and a lot of them are women owned bookstores popping up that are more flexible than that. And so you just have to keep looking through all of these different forms and be like, if this is how they are, maybe you go on to the next bookstore. If you don't like that, there's someone else out there. Like there's so many, right? It just keeps exploding. And the book fairs, I feel like this year for me, I have found so many book fairs. It's like exploding. It's just, I don't know if it's a trend everywhere, but I am seeing a lot more popping up.
so the new is being in indie bookstores, which is very exciting. I know when we talked in December, you had said that you're going to a book conference in September. So is there more? Have you been to more?
So that one is actually next September. The bigger ones tend to be like way ahead of time. So I still haven't been to that one yet. But I do have, let's see, I have one, two, three to five more lined up by fall.
Oh, dang, this
Yeah,
year.
some of them are smaller, but I think the smaller ones are kind of nice because they're more targeted.
Hmm.
They're genre specific most of the time. So we'll see. I don't know. It's an experiment.
Well, and the big ones, the really big ones, the national ones, oh my gosh, there's just so many authors. It's such a
Yeah.
huge event, thousands of participants. But also, when you talk about romance, it's such a large umbrella.
Yeah.
You have clean, sweet, small, next to mafia, dark,
Yeah.
horror. It's so crazy.
Right. That's what I'm really excited about. I'm doing one in May that's actually called Spicy Romance. So like that one I'm like super excited about because, I have a lot of books that are spicy. So I'm curious how that's going to go. We'll see.
Okay,
It's like
there's one that is in Dallas.
mm.
It's called Kinks and
Oh,
Inks, and they host it every year. So that's really where you need to be.
I know. I thought about traveling and it's kind of scary, like to go that far. And I interviewed a person, an author on my podcast, and she was telling me this horror story of an author she knew that flew
Mm-hmm.
and she had her books mailed and they didn't appear.
No.
Yeah. So she said, she said, after she heard that story, she will only drive because since she has some books in her car. Like, what a nightmare that would be
Yeah, I'd
to have them
be
not
scarred
appear.
emotionally.
Oh,
You have a comment from Miss Famous. Thank you. That's so sweet. She read my book. What books do you write, Ruan? Oh, do you want to give her the tagline? Give her the elevator pitch.
okay.
What do you write?
Well, I would say for Ruan Willow, that's kind of the umbrella one. I just started doing Are You Anne, which is open door romantasy. And I have a book launching on the 1st of May. It's now in Book Sirens. It's called Deception Snare, and that's about a 100K book, so it's a hefty novel. And then I have Ruan Willow, which is spelled Ruin instead of Ruan. That's where I tend to do like hot wife swinging stories. And I guess for Ruan Willow, you can kind of think of that as anything from, well, I have a few woman loving woman stories. I have, threesome stories. I Dare You is it's a monogamous couple who is married and they do all these kind of fun things. So I kind of have the gamut under Ruan Willow, and that's why I started kind of branching off into the different genres. And then Ruan Willow is on Smashwords, and that tends to be the more taboo stuff. That would be the most taboo stuff that I have.
And cookbooks.
And cookbooks. And under my real name, I write YA, contemporary romance, and fantasy, YA fantasy. So, yeah.
So Miss Famous, if you didn't count all those, that's five pen names. So she's super proficient in what she writes.
I write pretty quickly. I feel kind of lucky in that I write quickly because I talk to some people and they're like, they just don't write quick. So, I think people they either write quick or they don't, and everybody's different. There's nothing wrong with it, but I feel grateful that I can write fast, especially for the podcast, because I'm constantly trying to have to make content for that. Right now, I've been doing a lot of excerpts from the anthology, and that's been really fun because I've been narrating excerpts of different authors, and that's just really fun for me. I love to act those out, and it's been super fun. That's about to come to a close because the anthology is going to be, it's almost at the end of it. It's a charity anthology, and it was going to be taken down. So
I think that's the one you said was with 40 authors.
I think 45. I think I'm going to do 45.
Wow.
Yeah. I got nominated for the Golden Pigtails Smut Awards, but we couldn't win because one of the people that's in it has won too much, so we were automatically disqualified.
Oh, that's not
But I had another anthology that was nominated too, and an audiobook, so that was really fun. But we didn't win. We couldn't win because she's won too much. So she's like, I'm sorry, I disqualified everybody.
So her podcast is OF Yeah. So the F is, F star CK. And so that's the one where there's 500 episodes on it. Mm-hmm. And tell us what that content is, because I have it written down. It's a lot. You're doing a lot on there between the author interviews, the individual stories. So proceed. There's like 4 or 5 main pieces of content.
Yeah. So I do author interviews. I interview anything from, and people email me all the time. I'm constantly getting emails from doctors, therapists, people who are, sex educators, people who are personalities within, that realm. And then I do the fiction, the spicy fiction. Right now I'm doing a series called The Healing Power of Smut, which is really exciting. It's six interviews, and 3 men, 3 women, and they're all talking about how reading spicy stuff, or some of them are writers, has really helped them heal from shame, getting to a better place in their sexual health, their mentality, their maturity, their just a lot of healing. So it's been really interesting to hear 6 different people. So we have, I think one more goes live tomorrow. I think we have 3 more left. We've done 3. We have 3 left. Let's see, what else do I have? Did I hit everything? I'm open to anything that's related to sexuality and sexual health and wellness. So yeah, I get so many people, and I'm always honored when someone emails me and says, sometimes it's someone who works for someone. Hey, this person wants to come on your podcast, and I'm just like, it's just like such an honor to have people like approach me and be like, will you please interview my client? And I'm like, yes, if it fits, yes. It's an honor.
It really is. So you have the interviews, you have your short stories. You said were anywhere from like 4 to 10,000 words that are written specifically for the podcast.
Yes.
You said that you also have your episodes, but that I think is for the paid subscribers on your podcast.
Yep. Yep.
And then, guys, she does, like, for lack of a better term, stand-up comedy, but for romance, where she does romance stories off the top of her head, just freestyle.
Yeah, improv. Yeah, I always call
improv.
Those, stories are improv. Yeah, I love doing that. I haven't done that in a while because I've been doing all these excerpts. But yeah, I really enjoy doing that. And some of them I've taken and developed into a more full story, or even published them. Like some of my books that I have out there, especially the novellas, they started as that, as the improv story, and then they grew into that. So that's always so fun. And I like to tell people that's what I'm doing when I do it, because sometimes I'll accidentally switch tense, he said, and
we all do.
Says, especially when you're doing it off the top of your head, you don't even realize. And I listen back and I'll be like, oh, I said the wrong thing. But that's why I tell people, you know what, this was improv. This was literally off the top of my head. So it's not edited. It's not been, grammar checked,
Yeah. No, but I find that fascinating because I'm obviously an author, writer. And so when I have to think about the words, but you're on the spot. You can't have white noise or gaps. What is that? Dead air is what they call it. I mean, do you have that and you edit it all out so you sound proficient when you're retelling it?
Yeah, I haven't ever actually done it live, but when I do have a big space, I just chop the space out. But I don't tend to have too many spaces because my brain kind of just flows. And one way someone's described my writing, who's read my books, is that I kind of have I write from like a stream of consciousness, which I understand because it's just kind of like comes out of me, like it's just, I don't know, like I'm watching a movie, or it's just kind of happening. I don't know, it just kind of flows. So. Sometimes I do have big chunks, but really I don't have that. I don't really edit those very much at all. Very, very light editing.
Such a gift. You're so talented. So when it comes to the podcast and these anthologies, so is it a retelling? Because I saw when I was listening today, people can send you a text. Mm-hmm. And so what is that? What are people texting you?
You mean through the podcast?
Mm-hmm. On the podcast, it says text me.
I do occasionally get messages. Usually it's people saying, what they liked, or, something that moved them, or, occasionally it's something more of, I want to see more of this. And I'm always open. If people have something they want to hear, I'm always like, tell me, because, I love to create, it's kind of like working on commissions. One says, will you do a story on, threesomes at a grocery store, or I don't know, whatever you name it, that's, I kind of think that's fun to have a little bit of a guidance sometimes to create a story. And I've had people literally send me an entire outline and be like, will you write this story and put it on your podcast? And so that's been fun too, to fulfill that and see where it goes.
I think that is super cool because, like you're saying, it's commissioned art, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so you had one that I listened to where it was one of these, text to me, hey, a story or some of what's going on with you. And it was this gentleman who was sleepwalking but doing something else.
Yeah.
And you created a story. And I thought, That is so ingenious that you have people that reach out to you and say, hey, here's what's going on in my own um, bedroom.
Yep.
Can you write it to make it reality? And I think, I don't know any author ever that I've heard that does that.
Oh,
I think
really?
it's so cool.
Yeah, and he actually gave me two stories that he does in real life, and I turned them both into stories. So that was really fun. Yeah. If you're listening, he needs to give me more because that's super fun.
What Tell people how they can get a hold of you if they have ideas that they want you to write and they want to hear it on your podcast. What do they text?
Well, they could, email me to ruanwillow@gmail.com. They could put a message on the podcast. They could, on any DM on any of the platforms. I'm pretty much on the majority of them. So you can always DM me a request. Yeah, I definitely love to have requests because it's just fun to hear what people want. Like I've had people give more detailed ones and less detailed ones. They're both fun for me to do. It's I don't know. It's a fun thing to someone says, hey, will you write this? And then I don't know, it's fun. It's a fun way to do it.
It's similar. What it reminds me of is being in my professor's class in college and you have to do writing prompts,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, you're right. It is like writing prompts. Yeah.
But the writing prompts that your professor gives you are terrible.
Yeah.
The ones that you get ruined.
Juicy.
Okay, girl.
Exactly. We want the juicy.
We want the steamy writing prompts. Yeah, I'm not getting that from my professor.
No.
Who's tenured, like 70 years old, although,
Although, I know,
although,
right? Yeah, some of those people are really, really very ingenuitive and think of these amazing things.
well, I think the world is lonely at a lot of ages.
Yeah.
So, although maybe the 70-year-old professor would like some Ruan Willow spice and stories.
Yes.
So, what new? So, what do you have? We're only in this, the beginning of the second quarter for 2025. What's to come the rest of the year?
Well, like my Deception Snare, which is 4 novellas that I've, 3 of them are published. The 4th one is coming on April 15th, which is my birthday. And then
Happy
I
early
combined
birthday.
them all into Deception Snare, which is coming out on May 1st. I just wrote my 5th novella that goes with my Spring Break and Stranded series. And this summer I have coming out this is one of the ones I do on the podcast where I create a chapter and then it goes to the people who are subscribed. So that one will come live. That's Mandy and Derek. That'll go. They're going to secret parties. That'll come out in July. And other things I have coming up. I was really excited yesterday to find out that I've been nominated for the ASN Awards as an erotic author. I'm one of the eight people, and this is pure popularity. So somebody nominated me, more than one person nominated me, and then they voted. And then they announced the top 8 people for the ASN Lifestyle Magazine Awards, I believe it's called. And I just found out yesterday that I'm one of the 8, which is
Oh my
really
gosh.
exciting. I know. And then
Congratulations.
I'm sorry.
Is it? Oh my gosh, congratulations. It's so
It is
exciting.
really exciting. And then I also got asked to this summer be on the Crush Eroticon conference. And so I'm going to be a panel member in July for them about narration. So I'm excited about that too. So those are the main things I have coming up. I'm trying to remember if I'm in, and then the book fairs, of course. But yeah, I guess that's what I have in the works at the moment.
Well, asked to be on a panel is such a huge honor
It
and to be
is.
recognized. And I think because your body of work, oh my gosh, you could host the whole thing by yourself. You're like, let's go Q&A. What do y'all want to know?
Yeah, it's a huge honor to be asked. I'm really excited about it. And I've never done such a thing. So it'll be really fun, I think. And it's virtual. So, people can watch it from wherever.
Okay, I don't know about you, but I feel like in a way it kind of takes the pressure off because, you're in the comfort of your own home. You can just
Yeah.
kind of on your own, not on your own schedule, but kind of similar, right?
Yeah.
versus like when you travel and you're in someone else's hotel and maybe can't sleep
Yeah.
the night before. I mean, there's just kind of like a whole lot of nervous energy around
Mm-mm.
traveling for events versus like I can do a Zoom because we do so much in this forum.
Yes.
We're very comfortable.
Right. That's so true. That's so true. That's very true. Yeah, and then this whole awards thing, I don't know if I'll go, but they have like a red carpet event, and it's like a on stage thing, and I
Ruin, of
I don't
course
know if
you
I'm
have to
gonna
go.
go, but it's a lot of really spicy stuff. Like they're really, really spicy, so they're very it definitely would be interesting to go, but I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not going to win anyway. So it's just an honor to be nominated, right? Like,
Oh
it's
my
really super
gosh.
cool to be
It's
like, to
to
be
have that
nominated.
experience, girl. Papa Xanax, go get you something nice from the mall and get on that plane and go. Because even if you don't win, though, just the experience and meeting other people and I
Mhm.
mean, walking a red carpet, isn't
Yeah.
that what we all like? The little girl inside us
Yeah.
who used to believe in magic and fairy tales and twirl, she
Mhm.
wants to go, right?
Right. Right. That's true. That's true.
Okay, I will meet you there. I'll be your date.
It's in Orlando in August. So I don't know. They I don't know. We'll see. It's a crazy thing. It came out of nowhere. I did not expect that at all. You know.
Well, I'm going to send good vibes to the universe that you win.
That
You're
would
like,
be crazy.
you're like,
Can't
I
do that.
don't know if that's still going to get me on that plane. Okay, so I
Crazy
have a
time.
question moving more to like the writing side.
Yeah.
I am fascinated by your output. I think I told you that before, or probably several times before. But how do you manage multiple projects? After our last interview, a lot of people were like, "How is she doing the weekly chapters to your subscribers? How does she do the short stories, or even the the write-in, or what we call like the commission?" And
Mhm.
then at the time you're writing a book, I think you said you were like 40,000 words in, or 80, it was going to be end up about 80,000 words. So you have these different projects that you're writing all at the same time.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know. I guess my brain works that way. Like when I was a kid, I was one of these people, like I would read like 4 or 5 books at one time. Like I didn't read just one book and then move on. I was like I'm still that way. And I think that's where it comes from me that my brain just works that way. Like I can be in all these different places and go there and then leave it and go do something else and then come back and do it again. I don't know. I guess for me, it's just kind of the way I am. It's kind of funny because I'm really not a very organized person. Like if you were to look at my office, it's like it's an explosion happened in there, right? Like I've got post-it notes everywhere. I've got papers everywhere. It's crazy. It's crazy. But but yet I can organize all these different things in my head and do all these different categories. So I don't know. My only way I can explain it is it's just how my brain works.
I was gonna say, Ruin, I don't know if I believe you when you said you're not organized because you're on about 80 different platforms. You produce tons of content, fast, quick. You put it out there. I mean, I don't know how you cannot not be organized.
Well, I guess if you, on the surface, I do not look organized. Like if you look at my office, I do not look like someone who would be able to do all of that. I look like a train wreck, you know, papers everywhere. It's just, you know, it's a big giant mess. But
We're not judging. No judgment.
I'm not into organization like in
Mhm.
spaces. I guess I'm more organized in my brain, like, you know, where I'm doing, how am I doing it? I do a lot of, as far as the posting, I do a lot of things on my phone where like I'll save it in notes. I'll save different clips and then I'll take it and I'll put it across different platforms. And that's how I do a lot of social media. I might change it a little bit here and there, or I might go back and put it on the same platform with changing a few words. So that's a trick a lot of people could try if they want to. It's instead of recreating a post every single time you post, use your stuff you already have. You know, don't make yourself recreate it every time. I think that to me that saves me is posting across all the different social media platforms.
No, you are brilliant on repurposing your content because you were talking about how, you would actually create it then you turn it into a podcast episode, or you create it into an audiobook, or you know, release it as a novella and then bundle this up to a box set. So you are the master at repurposing. But how do you not combine the worlds? Because if you have these different projects, and when I re-listened to our interview, you write in first and third, past and present. I mean, you have thrown all the rules out, and you're like, I will do
it. Well,
I will do it all.
I'm sorry. I usually make myself go back and look at if I've left something for a while, like the one I'm writing right now, the Spring Break and Stranded. I haven't written that one since the fall, and I did one short story for it in summer or December, but I have to go back and look. Okay, what tense was I in? So then I go back and just read a little bit of it to make sure I do the right tense in the next novella. But I don't know. I guess for me, it's really not that hard. Like my brain goes right back there. Like I just started writing this on, I don't know, when did I start? Monday. I started Monday, and I'm at 15,000 words, and my brain just goes right back there. Like I never left.
Nice.
I think I don't know. It's not hard for me to do that kind of thing. I guess I don't really do anything. I might go back, and the main thing I'm going back to check for is what tense did I write in, because I've done that where I didn't check and I did the wrong tense, and it's so painful to go back and change all those tenses, and you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I just take 2 minutes and check?
I was deep in edits today, and yes, I know I slipped tenses, and you're like, oh, the ed, stop at the ed.
And it's not usually a quick fix. Sometimes you have to change the sentence, right?
Of course.
It doesn't work.
I'm so glad you said that, because I've been changing sentences all day. I'm like, dang it. What was I thinking?
I know. That's what people, and I do try to keep a little bit of notes. I'm not really great at it, but just even simple things like, hair color or,
Oh, yeah. I'm going to change their hair and their eyes midway through the story, for sure.
I mean, people can get their hair dyed and they can wear contacts, right?
Yeah, that's the ticket.
They just got a new hairdo.
So let's talk a little bit about your subscription services, because I want to hype those up. Obviously that's passive income for you, but are you taking, kind of like you had said, I take one piece and I put it all these different places? Is that kind of the similar concept? Because I think you're on Substack and Patreon. You mentioned your podcast.
Yeah, so when I create something for a subscription, that's the 3 places I put it, is on my Patreon, on Substack, and the podcast. And it tends to be the same thing. So like I'll take it and put it across all 3. So like right now I'm doing the Derek and Mallory one that I said, and then I'm also started doing the Deception Snare. So I'm doing the 3rd chapter of that book right now, and I don't know if I'll do the entire book. We'll see if people really want that, if people are really in, because not everybody's into romantasy, although a lot of people are. So I'm just going to kind of feel that out and see if, how many downloads I'm getting. Do people like this? And I can switch modes at any point. I don't have to put the entire book on there. It's really nice to, I think it also helps me realize what people like, what people are downloading more of, even if they're subscribed to me, if they're not downloading everything, then maybe that's when I should move off of, that kind of thing.
I like that, because we always think like you got to finish up.
Right.
And you're like, no, I'm going to test the market. If they don't like it, I'm just going to stop at chapter 3 and move on to something else. I love that, because as authors, they were like, you have to finish.
Right. No. But I'll still create that audiobook and put it out. It might just take me longer, but I'll still finish it for the audiobook purpose, but maybe not for the subscribers, because they are different audiences. That's the thing too that I struggle with, but I try to do the best I can. Every place is a different audience. So my audiobook listeners are a different audience than my readers. So it's hard to be, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades if you're going to do all of those things, because they're not the same audiences.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because even when you're on social media, they're not the same audiences.
Exactly. Yep. That's another audience. Like, how many audiences do you really have? You have a lot.
Well, what do they like? Yeah.
Mhm.
Will you, so you're putting up to your subscribers almost as you're writing it, maybe not immediately after it goes through edits, but you're putting it up. And then after the subscribers get access to it, then you go to regular publication. Is that correct?
Right. So like for instance, right now I'm doing the Wingless Hunger, which is part of the Deception Snare. So I'm doing it chapter by chapter, but that book is that novella is already live. And so that I wrote in the fall. And then, the full bundle of all the novellas is releasing on May 1st. But the Mallory and Derek is a different scenario because that one actually grew out of we're talking about the improv. That whole story grew out of an improv story. But so that one, I usually will write that one, I'll narrate it, and I'll publish it the next week. And so that one I'm doing kind of slowly through time. So by July, I think I will have the full book done and the full audiobook done at the same time while I'm giving that piece by piece to my subscribers. Chapter by
Okay. So it's not a hard and fast formula every time.
No, depends on the book and the project for me.
You have dozens of titles. Do you ever go back and pull an old title and give that up, or then kind of chapter by chapter disperse that?
Yeah,
Or is it only your new works?
right. I could do that. If I feel like I don't have anything to put out there, I probably would do that. I haven't done that yet, but there's no reason I couldn't do that. So that's the nice part. That's kind of like a backup. If I don't have anything created, I'll just go to the backlog and use that, right? Like I'll just snag it from the side and be like, okay, you're up.
Well, and I like what you said about our audiences are different, because I have recently put up a box set.
Mm,
And it was an advice from another author who's very proficient, just like you. And she has dozens of books out there. And she says, box set readers are totally different.
they are.
They, yeah.
They are.
And I had no idea. She's like, they will buy the whole thing because they want to read it all the way through. They don't want to wait. They don't want to, for the releases. They don't want cliffhangers and all that. And so she said, box set readers are totally different than your regular readers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, isn't that so interesting? That's so true. I have found the same thing. They are very different. And there are people who will buy each individual thing because they don't want to wait. And there's some people who are like, nope, I know you're going to bundle this. I'm going to wait. Because I want it and I want it all in one chunk. Yeah.
They want to binge it. They don't want they don't want the slow drip feed that, we end up doing just because we have to write it and produce it and edit it and all that. There's some time.
Yeah.
And so, and so kind of to what you're saying about your subscribers, we always think as authors like, oh, well, the book is out, they can just get it there. But not necessarily, because the subscribers may not read or may not buy a book on Kindle. But they'll they'll listen to it or read it on Substack or Patreon. Ream is another one.
Another one. Yeah, I've thought about going to Ream, but I haven't yet. But yeah, that's so true, because there's people who just only want audio. There's people who only want to read. There's people who only will read on their device. There's people who only hold a book. I mean, everybody's so different.
And it's really hard because you have to try and, I don't want to say accommodate, but you have to be reasonable whether you're providing it in whatever form you can.
Yeah.
And you want to.
And another thing just popped into my head. There's another thing to consider that I'm just kind of learning now that I'm getting into some independent bookstores, is that sometimes they have room to have your book face out so that people can see the cover.
Yes.
Sometimes it has to be just the spine only.
Oh.
If you have a plain spine, who's going to pick you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then you need to also think about, is there something I could put on my spine that's intriguing in case my book is only the spine showing? Like this is another whole realm to think about when you're creating paperbacks. And if you're thinking of putting them in getting them into bookstores, it's a whole other thing.
Well, especially romantasy, because I know they do a really good job of having those spines when they do that whole wrap front to back.
Yes.
Those spines are intricate, and they're like the scrolling or the vines. I mean, it is a continuation. Mm-hmm. I don't see it so as popular in just romance.
Yeah, I agree with that. Hmm. Yeah, and for that reason, each of the individual novellas for my romantasy, I hired somebody on Fiverr, and I didn't pay attention to the spine. But it was also novellas, it was a small spine. But the full bundle of them, Deception, Snare, I did hire a person, she's What the Smut, and she created a beautiful cover for me that is that whole layout. And it's beautiful because the story takes place in the ocean and in the forest. So she's got this big giant wave, and then she's got the forest, and it's got royalty in it. So she's got this beautiful crown on top of the wave. It's just beautiful. So you open the book, the whole cover is just like this beautiful picture.
I saw that. So tell people where they can see it because it is stunning.
Yeah, so I do have it on my Instagram, Ruan Willow and Ruan Willow author. And it's just, she did a great job, and she's like, I'm a baby creator, and I'm like, no, you did fantastic, it was beautiful.
Girl,
I'm like, seriously, do not have that opinion of yourself. You did out of the park, in my opinion.
that is a stunning cover. I saw it and I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And you said you found her at What the Smut?
Yep. So she's on Etsy as What the Smut. She's also on Instagram. So I don't know, she must be kind of new to creating covers because she called herself a baby cover creator. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're stellar.
Okay, I love that handle though.
I know. She's an author herself
Okay.
as well. So yeah. I think she does romantasy, if I remember right.
Oh, that makes sense then because she'll have to create covers, and I feel like Romantasy has some of the best covers. I mean, they hit it out of the park a lot of
They do. And
times.
you really do have to have a cover that fits the genre. And I interviewed a woman who owns a bookstore, an independent bookstore, and she was telling me, you have to fit in your genre or people are just so for instance, this whole cartoon business for YA contemporary, right? Like, I don't like the cartoon covers personally, but for the one I just put on under my name, it is a YA contemporary romance. So I knew I had to have the cartoon covers. And she said, if you don't do that, the readers are just going to go right past your book. You do need to fit into that branding of a genre, a subgenre.
Well, there's a lot when you get into the illustrated covers.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The cartoon covers illustrated. Yep.
And I'm not a fan of those. I
Yeah.
mean, they're usually pastel and they usually are illustrated. And there's lots of talented artists out there that are, creating
Yeah,
them.
they're beautiful. Right.
But I'm of the old, and maybe it's just my age, like I write steamy. I want to see like a, naked shirt man. And that's why I want my covers. They probably will never be in a bookstore because I was like, what am I going to do instead of them?
Right. I mean, the only other option would be you could release it with a different
Yeah.
cover. That is an option. But yeah, so like I did the cartoon cover, and I just feel like it's not representative story. Like it doesn't. I'm just like, no. I mean, it is a YA romance, so it's not like they're on the page doing this,
Yeah.
super
Yes.
super intense stuff. But still, it's still, I don't know. But I did it, and it is a very nice cover. Oh, that's a whole ordeal. I mean, I had so many troubles with that book. I call this my doomed book. We'll see what happens with it. So many troubles with the cover and the editing. I mean, it's just it's been my doomed book from the beginning. I wrote it back in 2020.
Oh,
So we'll see where it goes.
hopefully not. But I know what you're saying. You're like, if something goes wrong, it's going to be this book because everything has gone wrong on this book.
Yeah, literally everything has gone wrong on that book. It just released on April 1st. So we'll see. I forged through. I made it. It was supposed to go live in February.
What's the name of the book?
That was under my real name, so I'll keep that one secret.
Yep. We'll keep it secret.
That's a secret one. Unless you come see me at a book fair, then you'll know.
Then we'll know. That'll be on the light pink side of the tablecloth. Let me ask you this. You've had, I think, a lot of success. I know you have a lot of fun. You're a remarkable author, podcaster, just a very talented mind. How do you deal with the pressure, the expectations that may come from readers because you are so proficient in your output? How do you deal with that pressure? Because I know as we get more successful, we kind of, you'll get a snarky comment here and there, but we
Yeah.
can internalize some of that. And I don't want to say it doesn't exist, but it can exist, and then we kind of take it to the next level.
Right. So I just really, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't impact me when I get a snarky comment, but I really try to say to myself, that's one opinion. And when you see these giant offers like J.K. Rowling and Stephen King, and there are people who don't like them. So I shouldn't expect everyone to love what I
Mhm.
do because these giant successful people don't even have everybody loving them. So that kind of helps me when I get something negative and be like, okay, well, I guess it just wasn't for them. And then I think of myself and I'm like, well, I don't love everything. I don't like to read mystery. I don't like to read detective stories. I don't like to read lawyer stories. I want nothing to do with them. Like I was in a anthology recently and we were supposed to read each other's stories. I could not read this man's story for the life of me because it didn't have enough romance. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I cannot read your story. And I couldn't do it. And I'm not going to insult him, but it wasn't to my taste. And when I really think about that kind of thing, it helps me let go of those negative comments. Be like, that's what that person is thinking about me. And that's fine. I think that about someone else. Okay, let's move on. So, but it is hard to not take it to heart. And one of the things that spurred me on to want to do different, like categorizing of subgenres was that to customer reader satisfaction, where some of my readers under Ruan Willow might not like a romantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, okay, let's just create a pen name, and and I still have them tied together because I still would like people to know that I'm writing as RUN.
Yeah.
But then if they want romantasy, they know they can go there. And then the other people aren't going to be like, oh, what's this? And then they get it and then they're disappointed,
Sure. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I find that fascinating. You have put yourself out there in so many ways. And so when we do that, we want to do that because it puts it grows our brand, it expands our reach. But at the same time, the double-edged sword is that it also, you get the judgment and the comments coming back. And I know that you are one of the least judgmental people ever in the world, the most accepting. And so I'd imagine it's hard when that comes back your way because you have put yourself out there in so many different forums and methods.
Yeah, for sure. And then I do definitely think I do attribute I mean, I was already an open person to begin with, but doing the podcast really made me be even more open and less judgmental. But it was really funny for me. I have a really devoted reader who, she reads everything and she reviews everything. She gives me private comments to help improve things. She's just fantastic. But when she read my romantasy, she was like, well, I like it, but it didn't have enough spice for her. I was like, wow, because usually it's the other way around. When people are like, "It's too much spice, I can't read it." She was the other way around, and I was like, "Oh, wow!" Like she wants that spice. So, it can go both ways, and
Mm-hmm.
and I think the best way to think about it is, you're not going to please everyone, but if you can kind of funnel it a little bit into categories, you can kind of hit the majority of your readers where they are, and that's my goal too. I want to give people stuff they want. But I also want to try different things. I don't want to box myself in because my brain doesn't work that way.
No, I don't think there's any boxing in you. But you don't let it affect your production. You don't let it cause imposter syndrome. You may take the hit, but then you keep on chugging.
I do. And in that, I've hit a lot of roadblocks in my life that I've gotten through. So I feel like I'm kind of forged by fire. So, you know,
Love that.
if,
Well,
if, if you're gonna, I have this one person who has changed their name, their reviewing site on Amazon because they want to give me bad reviews on my audiobooks. And I caught them doing it.
oh my gosh,
So now I have a
crazy.
list of, okay, do not give these, like who takes the time to create that? Like you really want to like get at me that much that you're going to create another, like what?
Okay,
Why,
that's
why
just a
wouldn't you just
whole,
like move on? You know,
that's a little bit stalkerish. It's a
I
whole
know
different
you're right.
level.
It's kind of stalkerish. I never thought about that. That's kind of creepy. You're right. I never thought about that. Oh boy, now I really need to keep an eye on that. But you know, I'll do that, like, because I have this review site where for audiobooks I can check and look at all their platforms, and I saw something that made me realize this is the same person. So I guess that's reconfirmation that I need to check every platform and see, because there are people that will do that.
If they could just channel that energy into their own
Yeah,
self-development and healing,
right.
they wouldn't be coming to, that platform and doing all that. That's a shame.
I don't get it. Why wouldn't you just move on? If I don't like something, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm gonna move on. Like, I don't like try to, like, I don't know, weird.
I know. If you don't like the movie, the TV show, the podcast, the book, you're not going to be like, let me pick up more from this author, producer,
Right.
podcaster.
Luckily, I have a lot of people that give me positive reviews too, but I'm just, those like puzzle me. Those I'm just like, I don't understand you.
I don't. I have one final question. If you could wave your romantasy wand, but actually, if you could wave your wand in a year, where will you be through everything, the total brand, the umbrella of everything underneath?
I
What
guess I
would
would
you
like
wish for?
right where I am, but have everything be elevated. I would love to be in more bookstores. I would love to be, and I'm really excited about going to these book fairs and like talking with people and being like, it's going to be interesting to see people's faces when I, present, here's my YA book and, my cookbook and my self-help, but I also write the full gamut to really spicy stuff. But to me, I'm a whole person. I'm a whole person, and I have all those pieces in myself. If someone can't accept that in me, then that's their problem. I'm a whole person. I'm going to live all the gamut of me, from cookbooks and self-help all the way to super spicy stuff, because I'm a whole person and I'm going to celebrate that. So I guess I want to be where I am, only just all of it, just more, bigger, more.
I don't know how you can do more, but I wish you all the luck in doing more, because if there is anyone that has the tenacity and the grit and the stick to itness, it's you.
Oh, thank you. You say such wonderful things.
Oh, it's true. It's true. It's true. So I am so glad that you're on tonight. Again, learned so much. I'm so happy to have you again. And so we will have to do this a third time, probably in the fall. I'll catch up with you after some of your fall book fairs are done. We can regroup. We can talk about what's coming in 2026.
Yes. Oh, that's a scary number to think of, isn't it? Yeah, I gotta have you back on mine too. Figure out what you're doing and all your amazing stuff.
Okay, give me a few more months to catch up with you. I'm kidding. Years to catch up with you.
Well, thank you for having me on. This was so much fun. I love talking to you. You're an amazing person. I just really connect with you, and I really enjoy it.
Thank you. So you guys can find her at Ruan Willow. R.N.Ann is another pen name. And then Ruan Willow, Rain Willow.
Are you
And then
Ian?
you,
Yep.
and then you have Ruan Win
Ruin Wilho is a spicier one. Yep.
on
Mhm.
Smashwords
And
and
eat
Eden
books.
Books.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Do you guys go and check her out, because she has the gamut from like YA cookbooks, like you said, self-help, all the way over to romance.
Thank you
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye
Rowan.
bye.